FFA members and guests. My name is Conway McNeil from the Berrien High School FFA chapter. Get on your feet and make some noise for your 2017-2018 State FFA Officer Team!
Can't stop, won't stop. Where the brakes at? I give him that ditty bop. Like take that, take that, take that, take that. I'ma put in work. I'ma do that ASAP. Throw my faith in rap. But it say don't say that, huh? What I'ma turn down for? I feel like Shaq in 9-4. Breaking glass in that backboard. I like Kobe and Toronto, huh? Dropping 81. Yo, I dropped the 88. Ricky Bobby, shake and bake. Sleeping on it, should've stayed awake, huh? Everybody make mistakes like VJs. Tryna say my name is Minio. Say it with me, Minio. Okay, great. 2 forks high, raise stakes. Risk it all, I take the hate. This the winning team. Get the Gatorade. My guy good, but he's not safe, nah. They try to shut us down and it ain't gon' slide. Only thing I fear is God and he on my side. That's the confidence I got, cause he got me. That's why I really feel like you can't stop me. That's all you got. Come on with it. That's all you got. You can't stop me. You don't got the power. Shut me down. That's not enough. I'm my biggest problem. You don't got the power. Shut me down. That's not enough. You can't stop me. You're my biggest opponent. You know me, I know you, we know it. Whenever I fail, you always been there to simply remind me you're blown it. You don't see when I'm growing. You don't see where I'm going.
The convention hall will come to order. We are now holding the first general session of the 90th Georgia FFA Convention. Madam Vice President, are all officers at their stations?
I shall call the roll of officers, determine if they are at their stations, and report back to you, Mr. President. The Sentinel.
Stationed by the door.
Your duties there.
Through this door pass many friends of the FFA. It is my duty to see that the door is open to our friends at all times and that they are welcome. I care for the meeting room and paraphernalia. I strive to keep the room comfortable and assist the President in maintaining order.
The reporter.
The reporter is stationed by the flag.
Why by the flag?
As the flag covers the United States of America, so I strive to inform the people in order that every man, woman, and child may know that the FFA is a national organization that reaches from the state of Alaska to the Virgin Islands and from the state of Maine to Hawaii.
The treasurer.
Stationed at the emblem of Washington.
Your duties there.
I keep a record of receipts and disbursements just as Washington kept his farm accounts, carefully and accurately. I encourage thrift among the members and strive to build up our financial standings through savings and investments. George Washington was better able to serve his country because he was financially independent.
The secretary.
Stationed by the ear of corn.
Your duties there.
I keep an accurate record of all meetings and correspond with other secretaries wherever corn is grown and FFA members meet.
The advisor.
Here by the owl.
Why stationed by the owl?
The owl is a time-honored emblem of knowledge and wisdom. Being older than the rest of you, I'm asked to advise you from time to time as the need arises. I hope that my advice will always be based on true knowledge and ripened with wisdom. Madam Vice President, why do you keep a plow at your station?
The plow is a symbol of labor and tillage of the soil. Without labor, neither knowledge nor wisdom can accomplish much. My duties require me to assist at all times in directing the work of our organization. I preside over meetings in the absence of our president, whose place is beneath the rising sun.
Why is the president so stationed?
The rising sun is the token of a new era in agriculture. If we will follow the leadership of our president, we shall be led out of the darkness of selfishness and into the glorious sunlight of brotherhood and cooperation. Mr. President, all officers are at their stations.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. The Secretary will call the roll of members.
the 90th Georgia State FFA Convention. There are 3,853 members and guests present. Mr. President.
Thank you. FFA members, why are we here? To practice brotherhood, honor agricultural opportunities and responsibilities, and develop those qualities of leadership which an FFA member should possess. May we accomplish our purposes. I now declare this, the first general session of the 90th Georgia FFA Convention, duly open for the transaction of business or attention to any matters which may properly be presented. Georgia FFA, welcome to the 90th Georgia FFA Convention. I see a room full of change makers, inventors, leaders. I encourage you. I see a room full of change makers, inventors, leaders. I encourage you to live out your passions. Our FFA theme this year is I can, we will. I encourage you to live out your passions. Be the first to say, I can. Be the first to say, I can do something that I'm passionate about. And join in with others to say, we will too.
It was March 7th, 1965, and it became a seminal moment in our nation's civil rights movement. Dr. Martin Luther King gathered a group of his followers to make a march from Selma, Alabama to the state capital of Montgomery. This 54-mile march was set in place to protest the unlawful death of Jimmy Lee Jackson. Dr. Martin Luther King knew that he could make this march on his own, but there's power in numbers. A single voice can start a conversation, but it can also be easily ignored. When we come together, our message is much louder and much more powerful. Dr. Martin Luther King is the epitome of our national FFA theme. I can, we will. He knew that individually they could make some difference, but together they could change the world. And that's exactly what they did.
The University of Georgia football team had a season unlike any other this past year. After crushing their rivals and playing games all across the country, the Bulldogs went on to win their first Southeastern Conference championship in 12 years and play for the national title championship. How did they accomplish this historical success? Each player, from established stars Nick Chubb, Sonny Michel, and Roquan Smith, to hotshot freshman Jake Fromm, and countless other walk-on players, all knew that if they played at the highest level possible, that they would ultimately have success. The team's success is due in large part to the living out of the I can, we will theme. They all knew that eventually, if they tried their best, they would have success. And what a successful season they had.
16-year-old Lawton Harris of the Piedmont Academy FFA chapter has an overwhelming passion for the dairy industry, and she wanted to compete in the dairy judging CDE. However, her advisor, Mr. Vaughn, didn't have much experience with this competition. Instead of letting that deter her, Lawton embraced this challenge with excitement and immediately began recruiting members for their new dairy judging team. Lawton coached the students, coordinated a visit to a local dairy farm, and hosted the team at her house to prepare for the event. Piedmont Academy not only took their first ever team to the state dairy CDE, but the team placed 12th out of 24 teams, with Lawton Harris being the high individual in the state. Lawton had a goal, inspired and empowered others, and lived out our national FFA theme. Individually, she could. Together, they did.
Every day, 27 million men, women, and children suffer from the bondage of slavery. In 2013, Louis Giglio and his team from Passion City Church decided to start the End It movement to bring an end to this atrocity. It was introduced at the 2013 Passion Conference and has raised over $3 million to support these victims in their fight for freedom. Saving over 27 million people may seem like an impossible feat, but one group of people decided, I can do something to help. And now, every year in February, thousands of people across the globe mark a red X on their hand to say, we will be the change.
As FFA members, we have the unique opportunity to be an advocate for this great industry. But it took strong believers before us to bring agriculture to where it is today. Robert Fraley is one of these great individuals. In 1983, he and his research team at Monsanto found a method for creating transgenic plants through the use of pathogenic bacterium, otherwise known as genetically modified organisms. While Fraley was not the only researcher working on this innovation at the time, he is credited for his drive and ambition in helping commercialize GMOs. Robert Fraley is an excellent example of this year's National FFA theme, I Can, We Will. Fraley said, I can make a difference for agriculture, but with the help of his team, they said, we will change the future of agriculture forever. And look where we are today.
Samuel Truett Cathy was a member and Sunday school teacher at the First Baptist Church for over 50 years. He is credited with inventing the best chicken sandwich, the Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich. And he has been greeted with great success. With his moral compass in view, he made sure that all of his employees at Chick-fil-A had off on Sundays so they could rest on the Sabbath. Because of his faith and his views, he is now known throughout the world. Georgia FFA members, let's make sure that we always have our beliefs and our faith in view. That way, individually, I can make a difference, but together, we will make the change we want to see.
In 1928, 33 young men from 18 different states came together to form the Future Farmers of America. For over the past 90 years, the Future Farmers of America, now the National FFA organization, has grown tremendously. The 1930s brought this iconic blue jacket, the FFA creed that we still live by today, and the first official dress. The 20th convention hit record numbers, with some members having to sleep on beds in the basements of the hotels. The 1940s brought the first appearance of the National FFA band and chorus. And the 1960s monumentally enlarged membership with the NFA-FFA merge and the admittance of girls. I bet those 33 young men never realized just how big this organization would grow. They simply said, I can help create an organization that will grow the next generation of agriculturalists. Each of us in this room have the opportunity every day to live out the we will part of our theme. FFA members, look around. We will be the future advocates, farmers, teachers, doctors, vets, and lifetime supporters of the FFA.
Georgia FFA, as you go throughout convention this weekend, I encourage you to continue living out our FFA theme of I can, we will. Be the first to say, I can try something new, and encourage your chapters to join in and say, we will too. When you leave convention here on Saturday, I want you to remember that you, as one person, can make a difference in this world. But with the help of those around you, you will be the change the world needs to see.
I can.
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 We will.
Will.
We just got a text. We need to find some hardworking FFA members to help us with our service project. Come on with us.
It's already popping.
I am capable, we are unstoppable. It starts with you, it starts with me. Shape the future, aspire greater. It starts with us, it starts with we. Together we stand, united together. We better this land.
Hey, y'all, come on in.
Better this land. Rise up to the challenges, strive for greatness. I can, but together we will. I can, but together we will. I can, we will. Be the change we want to see. I can, we will. Step up and leave a legacy. I can, we will. Be the change we want to see. Be the change we want to see. Step up and leave a legacy. Embrace our difference, unite in similarities. See your potential, discover your ability. Where we live and where we lead, where we serve every single day. Our jackets, our standards, our talents lead the way. I can, we will make the promise of better days. Make the promise of better days. I can, we will. Be the change we want to see. I can, we will. Step up and leave a legacy. I can, we will. Be the change we want to see. Be the change we want to see. Step up and leave a legacy. We're all different, we're all unique. But when we come together, we can't be beat. Create a bigger impact. In fact, if I believe we can, we will be the change we want to see. I am powerful, you are powerful. Add it up and we're unstoppable. Together we're stronger than as individuals. Achieve a common goal. Unbelievable. I can, we will. Be the change we want to see. I can, we will. Step up and leave a legacy. I can, we will. Be the change we want to see. Be the change we want to see. Step up and leave a legacy. I can, we will. Be the change we want to see. I can, we will. Step up and leave a legacy. I can, we will. Be the change we want to see. Be the change we want to see. Step up and leave a legacy. We're all different, we're all unique. But when we come together, we can't be beat. Create a bigger impact. In fact, if I believe we can, we will be the change we want to see. I am powerful, you are powerful. Add it up and we're unstoppable. Together we're stronger than as individuals. Achieve a common goal. Unbelievable. I can, we will. Be the change we want to see. Be the change we want to see. Step up and leave a legacy.
Our next speaker is certainly no stranger to this stage. He is currently attending Abraham Baldwin Agricultural College, and he served as your 2016-2017 State FFA President. Ladies and gentlemen, for our convention invocation, please make welcome Willie Sizemore to the stage.
It's great to be back at convention here tonight. I'm going to reflect in the way I feel most comfortable, and I hope you do the same. Dear Lord, thank you for this day, and thank you for everyone in this day. Please bless us with energy, calm nerves, and a positive attitude as we compete and experience convention here in Macon this weekend. Give us the opportunity to practice fellowship with our fellow FFA members across the state in the hopes of creating relationships that last a lifetime. Dear Lord, please bless us as we travel to and from the convention center this week and throughout Macon. And finally, let us all remember that I can because of you, and we will in your honor. In the Lord's name we pray, amen.
Willie, Thank you for the time and energy that you have dedicated and continue to dedicate to our association and the agricultural industry. We are honored to have you with us here this evening, celebrating the many accomplishments of the Georgia FFA Association.
Is mine somewhere back here?
204 years ago, Francis Scott Key stood witness to the bombardment of Fort McHenry by the British. Throughout the battle, our American flag, containing 15 stripes and 15 stars, remained steady and strong. Key saw our flag flying triumphantly and wrote the poem Defense of Fort McHenry, which now serves as our national anthem. Please rise to honor our flag and our country as Victoria James of the Patala Charter FFA chapter performs the Star-Spangled Banner.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, their bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Thank you, Victoria, for such an inspiring rendition of our national anthem. The chair of our first session has a passion for horses, loved being a Cambridge bear, but is now proud to be a Georgia dog. She graduated from Cambridge High School, just north of downtown Atlanta, and she is about to finish her first year at the University of Georgia. This year, she brought a poise and precision that helped our team stay on track, and she has given her heart and soul to you. Georgia FFA, please make welcome your 2017-2018 North Region State Vice President from the Cambridge FFA chapter, Miss Rebecca Wallace.
Five rings, over 200 countries, and thousands of athletes gather every 4 years to compete at the highest level possible. These athletes have worked their entire lives for this moment, the moment to represent their nation in one of the oldest traditions we have around the world. With its iconic music and unforgettable moments, it keeps viewers on the edge of their seats waiting for the next moment in history to go down. The Olympics. I've watched them nearly my whole life, but I still get chills every time I hear the Olympic fanfare and theme song. This event has a way of bringing hundreds of different groups of people together for one event. Despite race, religion, and nationality, the countries around the world put their differences aside to continue this tradition. I'm in awe every year over the remarkable moments that show the true athleticism and love for one's country. While the Olympics are filled with dazzling feats of people's athletic ability, they begin with a very important opening ceremony. Whether or not viewers are invested in the sports component of these games, everyone can enjoy this part. The torch is lit, the athletes come through, and the crowd goes wild as the games begin. Although we are not at the start of the Olympic Games, this is one of the most important times for Georgia FFA and its members all year. The 90th Georgia FFA State Convention. In this first general session, we will hear the inspiring words of our keynote speaker, Mr. Alex Sheen, the United States Secretary of Agriculture, Mr. Sonny Perdue, and our very own Central Region State Vice President, Jake Harris. We will be dazzled by our Georgia FFA talent and stars over Georgia. Georgia FFA, get on your feet and make some noise as we prepare for the first general session of the 90th Georgia FFA State Convention.
Step up and leave a legacy.
With 3.6 billion viewers, or nearly half the world's population, the Olympics have become one of the most watched pastimes around the globe. When you break down the numbers, it is truly remarkable how they have grown. The Olympics began in 1896 in Athens, Greece, which is 241 male athletes, representing 14 nations and 43 different events. Now, there are as many as 11,237 male and female athletes, representing 207 nations and 306 events. These numbers represent the growth of these games and the incredible feats these athletes have accomplished. The Olympics are not the only place where the participant number has grown. Georgia FFA began with just 1,010 members back in 1929 when our association was founded. By the year 2002, we had over 20,000 FFA members. Even today, we continue to grow. In the 2016-2017 year, we had over 40,000 FFA members, meaning in just the course of 15 years, we added 20,000 FFA members to our association. Our association has now experienced 20 years of continuous growth, and I am thrilled to announce our new membership number, another record high number of over 42,000 FFA members. Members, thank you to everyone who helped us reach this number. You took the theme of I can, we will to heart and joined together to help our association continue to grow and thrive. No event as massive as the Olympics would be possible without leadership and support from certain individuals. Thomas Bach, the president of the International Olympic Committee, uses his expertise to guide the employees, competitors, and countries involved in the Games. Just as Thomas Bach works to lead and support the Olympics, our next guest works to lead and support education here in Georgia. Born into a military family in Florida, he lived in California, Hawaii, and Virginia before landing here in Georgia. After graduating from Fitzgerald High School in Fitzgerald, Georgia, he went on to get his bachelor's degree from Kennesaw State University and his master's degree from Valdosta State University. He has been a leader in public education for 24 years, serving as a teacher for 14 years, and a principal, assistant principal, testing coordinator, and curriculum director for 8 years. He has been our state school superintendent since 2014, and we appreciate all he does for students and teachers across our state. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to our state school superintendent, the Honorable Richard Woods.
Thank you. Well, good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be with you. This makes my fourth convention, so I'm excited for you. I know for those that this will be the first time, you are in for a treat. Because as I go out and travel, I encourage everyone, please come to at least one FFA convention, because it will be something that will just really knock your socks off. But, tonight, I could have been somewhere else. I could have actually been at a private screening of Marvel's Infinity Wars, I think. But I came here to be with you, okay? Because I believe in what you do. I believe in what you represent, and I believe, you know, in everything that you are doing for education. You are great amongst our class. As a high school teacher, what I understood is if I had a blue and gold jacket inside my classroom, I never worried about those individuals. And I think as your motto tonight, and again for this convention, I can, shows that you have a belief in yourself. But when you have we can, it means that you don't have to do it alone. And that is the power of FFA. Everything you do together as a team. So I wish you the very best. I wish you much success. And for those that are graduating and looking at, leaving us in the K-12 system, again, I know you will do a great job and succeed in life. So again, it's a pleasure to be with you tonight. And again, I hope you have a great and tremendous, convention throughout the next several days. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Superintendent Woods, for joining us here at the 90th Georgia FFA State Convention. Your continued support of agricultural education, the FFA, and members across our state has not gone unnoticed, and we appreciate all that you do. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our Olympians come from all over the nation, and some even from right here in Georgia. In the 2016 Rio Summer Olympics, our very own Georgia boy, Gunnar Bentz, made history by becoming the first ever swimmer from the University of Georgia to win an Olympic gold medal at the age of 20. UGA not only has a history of producing Olympians, but also many leading figures in the agriculture field and industry. Our next guest is a proud alumni of the University of Georgia and has spent his lifetime serving as an agribusinessman, veterinarian, state legislator, governor, and is now serving as our United States Secretary of Agriculture. Born in Bon Air, Georgia, he grew up on a diversified row crop and dairy farm where his father was a lifelong farmer and his mother an English teacher. He graduated from Warner Robins High School and went on to continue his education at the University of Georgia, where he graduated from the College of Veterinary Medicine in 1971. Following his graduation, he served in the United States Air Force until 1974 when he received an honorable discharge. After serving on the Houston County Planning and Zoning Board, he ran for state senate where he was a majority leader for 4 years prior to being elected as president pro tempore. In January 2003, he was elected as the governor of Georgia, where he served 2 terms. And just recently, on April 25th, 2017, he was sworn in as our United States Secretary of Agriculture. One of the first tasks he accomplished after beginning his term was partnering the USDA with the FFA to support youth and prepare the workforce of tomorrow with unique careers in agriculture. He always takes time out of his busy schedule to connect with FFA members from across our state. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our United States Secretary of Agriculture, the Honorable Sonny Perdue. Good
job.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, good evening, folks. How are you doing? Everybody good? Very good. It's good to be here with you tonight. Thank you, Rebecca, for that wonderful introduction, and thank all of you FFAers. I'm happy to be here. As you might, if you follow me, you may know that I'm fond of coming to FFA greetings all across the country, but I'm particularly proud to be with the Georgia FFA tonight. I'm sure you've probably seen that if you follow me on Twitter or Instagram, and I attend a lot of FFA events, and I want to tell you tonight, I told the National Convention, if any of you were at the National Convention, I asked them to do something you don't usually get to do when someone's speaking, but you get to take out your phone and tweet to at Secretary Sonny and just say, "Hello, Sonny, here's my home chapter." If you want to do that, you got my permission, and then you can follow. But we're going to see how many hits we get from which chapter tonight as you send those tweets out. So give us a follow there. But everywhere I go, I love to tell young people like you that because you're young, many times you don't know that the things that you can do already. And you talk about future leaders. I'm looking out here at an audience of leaders today, and your evidence here, your evidence participating in FFA is a great example of that. And I want to congratulate you all for being here tonight at the Georgia State Convention, but also doing what it takes day in and day out, week in and week out, to be an active member of the FFA. It will be a participation you will never forget. And when we talk about future leaders, I'm telling you the future is now. You're here, and you're able, and you're capable, and I'm looking forward to seeing all the things that you can accomplish. We need you. Agriculture needs you. The United States of America needs you as well. I've been to 35 states already, and tomorrow Colorado will make 36 since I've been secretary. Really celebrated my 1-year anniversary this week as USDA secretary. And at every stop, I see the young people of National FFA just like you here all in Georgia. And it is a great sight to see those blue and gold jackets, young people coming up, shaking your hand, looking in your eye, telling you who their names are and where they're from, and really what their passion and vision is. I asked them, you know, what's your story? What's your cause? What do you want to do in life? And you all are so articulate about that. In fact, I'd like to share some of those experiences with you. We have a little video here. If you'll follow me on the screen, it will give you an example of what we've been up to this year.
Certainly the young adults that are trying to determine what their mark in life will be, we want to call their attention to agriculture. FFA and 4-H are two great youth organizations that give back, and that's what I think about farmers is they're great givers in that way, and that's what I want to encourage these young people to look at careers in agriculture.
Tonight I want to talk with you for just a few minutes about something that I think is one of the most important aspects of leadership. It's important, it's not easy, it's not simple, but it is important. It can be difficult to practice. It's easy for me to talk about it up here, but living it day in and day out is more difficult. And that's how to stay positive when things don't go your way. Now, it's easy to get frustrated. It's possible to rise above that frustration and succeed. Let me tell you a story about a lady that whose name you may recognize at the end. She grew up being called names, and when she was a child, she got older, she married, then divorced with a child of her own, and she was on welfare, and during her most difficult time, her mother died. But she had dreamed of becoming a writer. She did more than just dream. She wrote and sent her writing to publishers, but time after time, the publishers rejected her story. Finally, a small publisher agreed to give her story a try. Maybe you have heard of her books, maybe you've read them, maybe you've seen the movie. You've probably seen and heard of J.K. Rowling of Harry Potter fame. She didn't give up. Successful people might look at their lives or just smooth sailing. You may look at someone and say they've got it made, they never have any problems. I can assure you, though, that things do not always go that easy. I want to show you a simple object lesson that I saw a long time ago. It's a powerful message. When I was in the Georgia State Senate, a friend gave me this jar when I was in a particular challenging time. You might not can see it. I don't know if we can zoom in or not, but it's a jar of beans with a walnut on top. And he stopped by and gave me this jar, and Have you ever felt like things were just going great for you? You're like the walnut just on top of the world there and just sitting right there. But then things happen and your world gets turned upside down and you just get smothered there. You feel as if everything's piling in on top of you and you don't know what to do. You get knocked down and buried and life just looks like it's just, you can't even get air there. So what happens? What happens? You know, you just keep on going. You keep going, and 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 the walnut's back on top. And what's the lesson about that? Aren't you want to cheer for the walnut? Well, the fact is, there's a powerful message in this jar, and that's what I want to talk to you about tonight. The message is why the walnut comes out on top. It doesn't come out on top because it's exempt from knocks. It doesn't come on, everything in that jar got knocked and shuffled around, shaking the same. It doesn't come on top because it won life's lottery and got breaks that no one else did. And it didn't come to the top because someone reached in there and got it and pulled it to the top. The reason it came to the top is simple. It came to the top because it's bigger on the inside than everything else in the jar. Listen closely because here's the key. As a human being, you have gifts of reason and choice, and you can make decisions. When things don't go your way, the natural reaction goes like this for most people. Blame, pity party, resentment, jealousy, bitterness. We've all been there, and we all have friends that come and complain to us about those things. But you know how it takes everything out of you to start to shrink inside. You get small. You shrink, you rattle. When you rattle, you fall, and you go to the bottom and stay there. But as a human being, you have the power to choose just to think differently. And you can choose to think that you can learn from this difficulty. Although it's hard and painful, when you choose to think differently, you're going to grow from the inside out. And that growth doesn't depend on your circumstances. It doesn't depend on your choice of how you will choose to respond. It depends on your choice of how you choose to respond. And when you grow, just like the walnut, you will rise through it back to the top. Let me take this simple little object lesson and give you a few points on how to stay positive, even when things don't go your way. We're going to do a little alphabet work tonight. I'm going to start with two words, attitudes and actions, and we're going to do the ABCs of both of those, attitudes and actions, ABCs. Let's look at the ABCs of attitude. Awareness. Be aware of your feelings. Be aware of your circumstances. Be aware of what's around you. Be aware of what you cannot see, but what you know to exist, the facts there. Feelings will change. We know that. Circumstances will change, but there are a lot of things that do not change. For example, you may know that our national motto is 4 simple words. In God we trust. The basis of that motto goes all the way back to the Declaration of Independence. That's a solid foundation. Stay aware of that truth that does not change in your life and in your circumstances. Base your attitude on fact, not feelings. You've got to trust your facts, not your feelings. Feelings can't be trusted many times. Be aware of them, but don't let them control your actions or attitude. Your feelings will run away and paint a bleak picture in your mind. You think things are worse than they are. That bleak picture that your feelings paint is almost certainly a false picture. Here's the truth. No matter how disappointing or how hurtful your circumstances, you'll get through this and you'll be stronger and better. That is a fact. Cling to it. Base your attitude on fact, not feeling. C, commit to think above your circumstances. See how 3 ABCs all fit together? You've got the gift of choosing your attitude. It's not based on your circumstances. So when things are not going your way, step back in your mind and take a deep breath. Be aware of your feelings and circumstances, but do not let your circumstances consume your mind like a swirling whirlpool that just drags you down. So let's review those ABCs. A, awareness. B, base your attitude on fact, not feeling. And C, commit to think above your circumstances. Leaders, true leaders, adopt these attitudes in everyday life before the crisis comes or even through the crisis. Attitude is how you think. You have total control over that. But attitude must be put to work in our actions. So what are the ABCs of action? A, associate with wise people. Your parents have probably told you that. Have you heard the story of a crabs in a bucket? This is interesting. A man observed a fellow out netting for crabs, and he noticed that he put them in a bucket that didn't have a lid on it, and he wondered why they didn't just crawl out and escape. And the fellow explained that he only have 2 or more in a bucket to keep them in the bucket. He said, well, why is that? He said, if there are at least 2 crabs in the bucket, none could escape. If one started to climb out, guess what would happen? The other one would pull it back down. There are plenty of people in this world who would rather have you stay miserable along with them than to see you achieve. But there are others who are wise and want to see you accomplish much. Don't hang around with people who want to keep pulling you down to escape. Befriend positive people who demonstrate wisdom. Even more importantly, you should be a positive person yourself to help others, and people want to be around you. Alex Haley, the famous author of Roots, had pictures in his office of a turtle on a fence post. It served as a constant reminder that someone helped him get there. Associate with wise people, and it will rub off on you. B is be generous. Generosity is more than just giving money, though. Be generous with praise, with thanksgiving. Be generous with your smile. It doesn't cost anything to be thankful, to be praiseworthy, to smile. Those rewards are great, however, though. One of the famous quotes of all times goes like this: give and it will be given to you, good measure, pressed down, shaken together, running over, will be put into your lap. For with the measure that you use, it will be measured back to you. Be generous with good for others, and it will come back to you. C is choose to persist. You're in an organization that represents the most persistent, resilient, persevering profession on earth. That's the farmers and ranchers of America. There are many good people who give up quickly when they hit a rough spot in the road. They quit and look for a smoother road. Those rough spots make you stronger. Those rough spots build character and shape you into someone who can lead others. The important thing is to remember is to determine within yourself ahead of time, understanding that rough roads will come ahead before you hit the rough spots, that you will choose to persist and persevere. The same friend who gave me this char has a poster in his office on his wall with these words. Listen, he failed in business in 31. He was defeated for state legislator in 32. He tried another business in 33. It also failed. His fiancee died in 35. He had a nervous breakdown in 36. In 43, he ran for Congress and was defeated. He tried again in 48 and was also defeated. The next year, he ran for vice president and lost. In 59, he ran for the Senate again and was defeated. But in 1860, the man who signed his name, Abraham Lincoln, was elected the 16th president of the United States. What would have happened to this nation had Abraham Lincoln quit? The difference between history's boldest accomplishments and its most staggering failures is often simply the diligent will to persevere and never give up. So let's review. When not, this happens to you, turn the jar over and start shaking. It will certainly happen at some point in time. You'll grow as a leader and stay positive when things don't go your way by choosing your attitudes and actions. Awareness, base your actions on facts, not feelings. Commit to think above your circumstances and associate with wise people. Be generous and choose to persist. At USDA, we have a motto: do right and feed everyone. America needs you as leaders right now to choose to do right as we shape the laws and policies of this great nation. Also, our world is growing rapidly, and you'll be the leaders to help feed everyone in that growing population. Young people, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of your relationship to FFA. You've chosen a great organization. Now make it even greater. You can and you will. God bless you.
So Secretary Perdue, thank you for joining us here at the 90th Georgia FFA State Convention. Your continued support of members through your partnership with the National FFA organization has not gone unnoticed. Through your help and support, this organization can continue to prepare young people for futures in the agriculture industry. We cannot express our gratitude enough for all that you do to help build and grow this organization of ours. Thank you. Thank you. Just as our opening session is one of the highlights of our convention, the Olympic opening ceremony is one of the most memorable parts of the Olympics for many viewers. This ceremony is filled with excitement, entertainment, and of course, some special effects. Without the technology, sound, lights, and electrical components, this ceremony would not be the same. This next group of individuals being recognized has the talent to amaze us with their electrical skills, just as the hardworking employees who produced the Olympic opening ceremony. These members have mastered the art of wiring and have put their skills and knowledge to the test. We will now recognize the members who have excelled in the 50th anniversary of the Agricultural Electrification CDE, sponsored by Georgia Electric Membership Cooperatives. For this competition, members had to correctly wire an electrical problem, complete a problem-solving exercise, and give an oral demonstration to a panel of judges. In order to advance to the state level here, members had a place in the top two at the area level. These individuals have put in a tremendous amount of work, and it is time to award them for their efforts. Mr. Secretary, will you please announce the names of the 2018 state EMC winners?
It is a pleasure to announce the names of our state EMC winners for 2018. The top 6 individuals in the Agricultural Electrification CDE will receive state finalist plaques for their accomplishments. We appreciate the support for 50 years of Georgia's electric membership cooperatives and are honored to have Mr. Don Copeland of the Colquitt EMC representing Georgia EMC with us tonight. Mr. Copeland was a contestant in the very first FFA EMC wiring contest 50 years ago, where he placed 4th in the state. We're also proud to have other past winners of this historical competition joining us for tonight's presentation. The 2018 results are: in 6th place is Ethan Bragg from the Scriven County FFA chapter. 5th place goes to Louis Lumley of the Bleckley FFA chapter. In 4th place is Cade Legg from the Oglethorpe County FFA chapter. 3rd place in the state competition, receiving a $500 scholarship and plaque, is Tan Tong of the Jefferson City FFA chapter. In 2nd place, receiving a plaque and a $750 scholarship, is Jacob Ham from the Lanier County FFA chapter. And our state winner of the 50th annual FFA EMC Wiring CDE, receiving a $1,000 scholarship and a plaque, is Kirk Beecham from the Colquitt County FFA chapter. Kirk's advisor also receives $250 for this accomplishment. Madam Vice President, these are our 2018 EMC winners.
Thank you to the Georgia Electric Membership Cooperatives for 5 decades of support of this CDE. And congratulations to our members. You took the theme of I can, we will to heart by working individually while also utilizing the resources and people in your community to succeed. One of my favorite events to watch for the Winter Olympics is the figure skating. I love seeing people glide around the ice and perform beautiful routines with ease. They spin, jump, and dance to music, keeping the audience mesmerized throughout the routine. Well, the ironic part of this being my favorite part of the Winter Olympics is that I have no talent for ice skating at all. Seriously, once I'm on the ice, I cannot let go of the wall or I'll be walking out of there with a serious injury. Fortunately, this next FFA member has no problem finding some talent to show the world. Please give it up for our next talent.
Good evening, my name is Skylar Lloyd and I am proudly representing the Harris County FFA chapter.
There is a house in New Orleans they call the rising sun, and it's been the ruins of many a poor boy. And God, I know I'm one. My mama was a tailor, and she sewed my new blue jeans. My father was a gambling man down in New Orleans. Now the only thing a gambler needs is a suitcase and a trunk, and the only time he's satisfied is when he's all drunk. Oh, mother, tell your children not to do what I have done. Oh, spend your lives in sin and misery in the house of the rising sun. It's in the ruins of many a poor boy. I know it's in the ruins of many a poor boy. I know I'm one. It's in the ruins of many a poor boy. And God, I know I'm
I knew when this next young man entered our agriculture program, he was very unique. Not only was he bright and able to make friends in any social situation, he was also a deep thinker. He was very coachable in leadership, and he truly cared about people.
Your next speaker tonight is very passionate about many things: snow skiing, singing praise and worship music, Reba McEntire, talking about anything agriculture related, and chicken nuggets. As much as he loves these things, though, he's even more passionate about his faith, his family and friends, and everything FFA. It is our honor and pleasure to introduce to you my son and your 2017-2018 Central Region Vice President with his retiring address titled Everyday Heroes, Jake Harris.
You've got to shake, 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 like you shake, shake, shake. You are sweet, you look so good on you, so shake like you've been shake. Come on, shake, 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 like you shake, shake, shake. Shake that
It was a warm summer day. The sun was beating down on my back. The wind was swaying in the trees. And it was the perfect day for a hero to emerge from the ashes and fight for victory for the Israelites. My dad and I could see the Philistines, also known as pine trees, charging in the distance. So we stormed after them, screaming, "Charge!" And with all of my 6-year-old might, I took a mighty swing at the first Philistine pine tree, but he doesn't fall. Most would have let it go because it's a tree. But not this hero in training. Oh no, I was determined to be an everyday hero and knock down a pine tree with a hammer. So I took another unwavering swing at the Philistine pine tree, but this time he fought back. As soon as my hammer hit the pine tree, the claw of my sword came back and ripped the skin off of my forehead. And now I have a scar to prove it. While that day I may not have been the best hero, thanks to my 6-year-old imagination, I made a grand effort to help someone who needed my help. I was an everyday hero. It didn't take the ability to fly or the power to turn invisible or being able to fit into some really tight pants and a cape to be an everyday hero. No, it simply took heart. Over the past year, I've learned more about the qualities and the characteristics of an everyday hero. When you see this wall, you may just see a wall with paper and names on it. But when I see this wall, I see the number of Georgia FFA members who took the time at every Georgia FFA conference to think of their everyday hero. Write it down on a blank piece of paper and tape it to this wall, making it our hero wall. Connie Mock. To say she has overcome challenges is an understatement. She was diagnosed with cancer, broke her brittle shoulder at an old age, and had to care for a husband with Alzheimer's. Now, when I think of Connie, I think of the Bible verse, Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. When Connie saw this Bible verse, she took it to heart because she knew that no matter what was going on in her life, she could do anything through Christ. Even when Connie was hurt mentally and physically, she was one of the strongest people that I know. She had to go through many tests that most of us will never have to endure. But now, she's using her story to encourage other people. FFA members, to be an everyday hero, we must turn our test into testimonies. It may be hard now, but it will turn into a story that will change someone's life forever. When I see Connie's name on this hero wall, I know that she had to overcome many challenges to be an everyday hero and inspire someone. She inspired someone enough to put her name on this hero wall. Rachel Barnett. Rachel is an incredibly bright young lady who can put a smile on anyone's face. Rachel has a hug so warm that it can turn someone's worst day into one of their best. But at times, Rachel can find it hard to be the change this world needs to see because she has a disease called cerebral palsy. It's a permanent movement disease that causes her muscles to stiffen up. So when we see stairs, Rachel sees a mountain. And when we see vehicles, Rachel sees something that she will probably never be able to drive. For Rachel, these small things are big challenges. Rachel's an everyday hero because she looks past her weaknesses and past her struggles to impact someone's life. Rachel doesn't get her inspiration from her daily account of weaknesses. Instead, her strength of friendship, love, and positivity make her who she is today, an everyday hero and an inspiration. FFA members, we must look past what makes us weak in order to make us strong. For Rachel, that's cerebral palsy, but maybe for you, that's a lack of self-confidence. You feel like you will never be enough. But FFA members, I'm here to tell you that you are more than enough. You are exactly what this world needs. You are not defined by the labels that this world puts on you. When I see Rachel's name on this everyday hero wall, I know that she had to overcome her weaknesses and her struggles to inspire someone. She inspired someone enough that they put her name on this hero wall. Mark. Mark is a strong, patient, and wise man. No matter what's going on in his life, he makes sure to encourage the people around him. Whether that's just a quick pat on the back, a quick prayer, or a long talk about why he's on your side. He's always encouraging other people. Now, Mark isn't much of a reader, but oftentimes he can be found reading a book called Finishing Strong. And a couple of months ago, I got a text from Mark saying, "Jake, I'm proud of the young man that you have become. I read a book called Finishing Strong, and one day I will pass it on to you. Don't forget to put God first. I know that you will finish strong." Text messages like those are not unusual for Mark. He's known for always thinking of others first. FFA members and guests, we should be like Mark. The people in our lives should see your heart, your character, and your message. Hold steadfast to what you believe in, whether that's the success of your FFA chapter, your faith, or your family. Don't shy away from telling people what you believe in. When I see Mark's name on this everyday hero wall, I know that he had to overcome many things, and he put in countless hours of love and support to the people in his life. Now, let's close our eyes. Close your eyes and think of one person that has had a positive impact on your life. Maybe this person guided you, inspired you, or encouraged you. Someone who changed your life forever. Think of that one person, your hero. You can open your eyes now. As you go back into your homes and your communities and your chapters, make sure that person knows how much they mean to you. FFA members, not only can we be heroes, but we must be heroes, just like my everyday heroes. Just like Connie Mock, also known as my beautiful grandmother, who I call Mimi. Just like Rachel Barnett, a teammate, a friend, and an FFA member. And finally, Mark, my best friend, my role model, and my dad. FFA members, not only can we be heroes, but we must be heroes. We must be full of heart, full of faith, determined, inspiring, encouraging, and unwavering. Change someone's life, because life outside of this arena has enough negativity. FFA members, I pray you charge into this world, holding steadfast to what you believe in, encouraging others, and holding on to your beliefs. I look forward to seeing your name written on this everyday hero wall and watching you shape into the everyday hero that you were meant to be.
When you've been fighting for it all your life, you've been struggling to make things right. That's how a superhero learns to fly. When you've been fighting for it all your life, you've been working every day and night. That's how a superhero learns to fly.
Jake, your motivational messages, unforgettable story times, and contagious laugh has filled our time together with lots of smiles and laughs. Thank you for being a light to our team and encouraging each of us to thrive. While you are an Auburn Tigers fan who loves to yell War Eagle more than most of us probably want to hear, we love you more than words can express. Thank you for living to serve the Georgia FFA this year. Love always, Brooks, Laura Beth, Katie Beth, Tucker, Tyler, Hinckley, and Rebecca. Georgia FFA, your 2017-2018 Central Region State Vice President from the Harris County FFA Chapter, Jake Harris.
You've been fighting for it all your life. You've been struggling to make things right. That's how a superhero learns to fly. When you've been fighting for it all your life, you've been working every day and night. That's
without their support system. This includes family and friends who are there to encourage and support them through the good and bad times in their athletic career. Just as our Olympians have supporters, so do our Georgia FFA members here. Georgia FFA, it is time to recognize our Georgia FFA Foundation Sponsors Board and the Foundation Board of Directors. These two groups work hand in hand to provide FFA members the support that they need and deserve. FFA members are given prize money and travel funds for their hard work at the area and state level and CDEs and proficiencies. We are so grateful that we have sponsors generous enough to dedicate their resources to our members. FFA members are given the chance to compete not only at the area and state level, but move on to the national level, all because of our sponsors. We have the privilege of hearing from Mr. Josh Pitts, who is currently the chairman of the Foundation Sponsors Board. Mr. Pitts is from Zebulon, Georgia, and is currently the Executive Vice President of Retail Operations for Vantage Southeast. Mr. Pitts dedicates much of his time and energy to the FFA, and we are so grateful to have a friend like him within the Georgia FFA. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Mr. Josh Pitts.
Good evening, Georgia FFA. So a good friend with me tonight and a fellow co-worker suggested that I start off with a riddle, so hang with me here. What kind of ship carries a lot of people but doesn't float on water? A sponsorship. Apparently he steered me wrong, and that was for his entertainment. So, anyway, guys, it's a pleasure to be back in Macon with you again tonight. The mission of Georgia FFA Foundation is very simple: to support you. We raise money so that you can be recognized for your accomplishments, and so that you can travel to the National FFA Convention and represent your home state in national competition. We raise money in different ways, but I hope you realize how many people across the state of Georgia support you. From the Blue and Gold Gala to the Shoot for Blue, Aim for Gold Sporting Clays Tournament, to just asking for support, our mission is to support you. The group behind me is our sponsors board. Also joining us tonight is the Executive Director of the Georgia Foundation Georgia FFA Foundation, Katrina Jones, and the Assistant Executive Director, Hillary Reeves. But if I could have them step forward, I'd also like to represent the Sponsors Board, Georgia Commissioner of Agriculture, Gary Black, Mark Kemp, Southern States Cooperative, Gail Cutler, Georgia's Electric Membership Cooperatives, Greg Mims with Mims Farms, Christy Smith with Farm Credit Association of Georgia, Jody Strickland, F&W Forestry. Let's give these sponsors boards members a round of applause. One fundraiser that we ask chapters to participate is in the Blue and Gold Gala John Deere zero-turn mower raffle. Thank you to the chapters who sell tickets. It's always a pleasure to give out money, so I would like to recognize the chapters who sold the most tickets. Selling 320 tickets and winning $2,000 is Franklin County FFA chapter. In second place, selling 192 tickets and receiving $1,000 is Indian Creek Middle School FFA chapter. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Receiving $500 for third place for selling 80 tickets is West Jackson Middle School FFA chapter. All chapters that sold tickets were entered to a drawing for a $500 state convention award. The winning chapter is Telfair County FFA chapter. And I guess I'll keep going. They're not here with us tonight. Let's give these chapters a round of applause. All right, guys, this is the big moment we've all been waiting for. How much money did the foundation raise this year? I'm pleased to report to you, Georgia FFA members, that the foundation raised, drum roll, $1,342,595.20. This is an amazing amount and a record amount. Thank you to all FFA supporters, Georgia FFA members. Let's show our supporters one more time how much we appreciate their support. Thank you.
On behalf of the Georgia FFA Association and its over 42,000 members, thank you for your dedication and service to the Georgia FFA Foundation Board. Countless members have been given opportunities of a lifetime because of your generosity and support. We cannot thank you enough for all we do. Please accept this token of our appreciation.
Thank you.
Without support from sponsors like this, many events and opportunities our members have would not be here. These sponsors saw what they could do individually and realized that together they can do so much more. We are now going to recognize the sponsors who have embodied "I can, we will" to change the lives of members, across our state. Georgia FFA, please join me in recognizing the 2017-2018 Georgia FFA Foundation sponsors. many of our athletes would not be where they are today without their support systems. At young ages, these individuals may drive young athletes to practices, buy them equipment they need, and be sure they have the food needed after their strenuous practices. They push them to perform to the best of their ability, and as they grow, they stand by their side proud of what their child or friend has accomplished. They promise to always help and support them in any way they can. Our next speaker has taken the same mentality of encouragement, positivity, and support to heart through his campaign of Because I Said I Would, a social movement and nonprofit dedicated to the betterment of humanity through promises made and kept. Our speaker is someone who truly values commitment. He has volunteered at 52 different nonprofit organizations, has walked across the entire state of Ohio in under 3 days to fulfill a promise, in under 10 days to fulfill a promise to 3 women who were held captive for 10 years. And he gives 100% of his profits to charity. He has spoken in over 100 different cities, including 4 TED Talks, and we are thrilled to have him here with us tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to our keynote speaker, Mr. Alex Sheen.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? I got a question for you, a question that you may have asked yourself at some point in time. You know, maybe this question has popped up when you're watching TV, you see the story of an average, everyday person all over the news for some reason now. Or maybe this question, it pops up when you're just flipping through your phone, through social media, and you see something go viral. Have you ever wondered to yourself, you know, I wonder what it's like to go viral. I wonder what it would be like to be that person who posted that thing that's everywhere now, right? Because we all have an idea, a thought we might want to share with the world, right? So let's say one day you decide to write it all out. Yeah, you're going to write this idea out, so you type it all out, you're going to log in, you press that button, you post this idea, and then you just go to sleep. But as you're sleeping, the view counts roll into the millions. You wake up and this message has spread around the world. All of a sudden, the local news are at your door and they got questions for you about this post that you made last night. But it's not just the local news, it's the national news too. They keep coming with the same questions over and over and over again. And eventually you find yourself on some talk show and this bald dude named Steve Harvey's giving you a jacket with his name all over it, telling you to wear it. But you know, the jacket's really ugly and you don't want it, but you gotta take it because you're on TV. And then they stop calling it Cleveland, Ohio, where you're from. They call it Cleveland, USA, because you're live in Australia. And then all the TED Talks and all this nonsense, because of a single click, one button, and your entire existence, it fundamentally changes forever. Have you ever wondered perhaps, you know, I wonder what it's like to go viral? Well, my name is Alex Sheen. I'm the founder of Because I Said I Would. And for better or for worse, I know exactly what it's like to go viral. I'd like to tell you the story of how that happened and what I learned from it. It's a story that actually starts with my dad, shown here. Getting a little bit chubby in this area, just a little bit, Dad. It's funny because I remember when I was like a little kid, like a real little kid. I remember looking up at my dad and being like, man, Dad, you are not good looking. And that was like a really unfortunate thought because I would grow up to look exactly like him, you know? So that's terrible news for me. But it's true, my father was average looking. He was average a lot of things. We're not talking about some kind of war hero. My father didn't write books or run marathons. He was just a pharmacist in a hospital for 25 years. And sure, through his profession, he tried to help people, right? I mean, that's what you're supposed to do at a hospital. But the truth is, if you would have ever known my father in some other life, you would never go home and talk about Al Sheen, right? He was far too average, too everyday, too normal for you to want to do that. Unnoticeable. Except for one thing. My father was a man of his word. To me and to my brother, When he said he was going to be there for you, he showed up. My father was far from a perfect person, but he kept his promises. And it turns out when it comes to keeping promises, it seems like a lot of people, they just don't do that anymore. And so one day, my father, this kind of nerdy pharmacist guy, he's sitting at home and he hears his phone ring. And so he grabs it and he turns it over and it's the hospital calling. Well, of course, that's where he works, so he's got to answer. So he swipes his cell phone, he answers, and on the other line is a doctor that he works with, a friend of his. And in this phone conversation, my father is informed that he has been diagnosed with stage 4 small cell lung cancer. Now, my father was a go-down swinging kind of man. You know, he came to this country as an immigrant. And I say that because sometimes it's not so easy making it on your own. You have to develop some pretty tough skin to get by. And so with this attitude throughout his life, at this point of his diagnosis, my father elected for the most aggressive treatment, for radiation and chemotherapy. Now, a lot of people have obviously heard the phrase chemotherapy, right? But not many people know what it actually is. Chemotherapy is quite literally a poison. It was developed prior to World War II and is based off of a primitive concept. The thought is that you poison the body so deeply that the cancer cannot survive in the conditions, but perhaps that is the only way to give the patient a chance. Now remember something for a second. My father was a pharmacist in a hospital for 25 years. He knew more about the drugs he was taking than a lot of people ever will. And with that comes a distinct knowledge, an understanding of the odds that are against you. In the case of my father, those odds were terrible. But sometimes we got to go down swinging, right? And so my father, he took this medication, and it actually started to work. You know, this tumor that grew so close to his heart that it was surgically inoperable, couldn't be cut out. Through this medication, though, it began to shrink. So small that you couldn't see it in any of these medical scans that kept doing on my dad over and over and over again. And even him, the most genuine of skeptics, I assure you, he deemed it some sort of miracle that perhaps he was saved. Now, I don't know if your family's ever dodged something like this, but this is obviously some pretty good news, right? You know, so I feel like we got to celebrate, you know. I went to college, I know how to celebrate. So I go to my dad. I used to call him old man, right? I said, old man, listen, anything you want, Dad, anywhere you want to go. Money is no object. We got to celebrate this moment. This is an incredible turnaround for your health. So anywhere you want to go, anything you want to do, money's no object. Okay, let's hear it, Dad. What do you want to do? Where do you want to go? What does he say? He wants Chinese food. Same Chinese restaurant every single time. Didn't matter what the occasion was. But you know how dads are, they're kind of boring like that, right? They got their routine, they like what they like, so you just let him have it, because whatever, it's his day, he gets to choose. So we go to this place called Sunflower that we've been to 7 trillion times, and his buddy owns it, and it was a good meal, you know? It was a good celebration, a good day, the kind of day that I think a lot about, and the kind of day that I wish I had just one more of. But as some of you may have already noticed, I speak of my father in the past tense. The cancer would return to his lungs. It would spread to his liver, into his pancreas, and into his brain. On September 4th of 2012, it was a bright morning. In the house that I grew up in as a child, as a grown man, I would go to my father's bedside and I'd play some music for him that I thought he might like. I held his hand with the best ability that I had as his son. I desperately tried to comfort him as he died. Now, you and I, we are only strangers. And I don't know if you've ever lost someone that you love. I hope that you are too young for that. But if you have, you will understand a struggle where we have so many questions, you know? Like, why him and why now? Why does it have to be me and my family? And in this struggle, we are afforded very few answers. In my struggle, I was asked by my family to give my father's eulogy, the final resting speech at his funeral, to speak to his greatest characteristic, his greatest quality as a man. And I kept coming back to this thought, the importance of a promise. You see, too often in this life, people say things like, I'll get to it, or tomorrow. Well, I've learned that one day there is no tomorrow. And the promises that we make and we keep, and those we choose to dishonor, that is what defines us and our character. It always has, long before my father was ever born and long after I go. It is a single measure of honor. One that we use so quickly to judge other people, right? How they treat their promises. But perhaps as quickly we should use this to judge ourselves. I would give my father's eulogy at his funeral. The title of that speech would be, Because I Said I Would. I would talk about the importance of a promise. And for the very first time that day, I handed out one of these. I called it a promise card. On the front, it says, Because I Said I Would. On the back, there is nothing else. It's very simple to use. What you do is you take a promise in your life. You know, maybe something small that you said today, or maybe it's something so deep that it defines part of your purpose for being on this earth. You write that promise on this card. You go to that person you're making that commitment to. You tell them, I'm going to fulfill this promise. And when I do, I earn this card back. The card is a symbol of my honor, my respect. It is my property, and I'm coming back for it. You go, you fulfill your promise, you come back to that person, you earn your card back, and you keep it as a reminder that maybe you're a person of your word. You know, maybe someone like Alex Sheen was to his sons. And so his funeral ends, and I go home. And the next thing I would do would set off a chain of events to the scope of which I may never understand. That's where the internet comes in. You see, I would make this post online, an offer. I said that I would mail, like physically mail. I said that I would mail 10 promise cards to anybody, anywhere in the world at no cost to anyone, which was the dumbest financial decision I've ever made in my whole life. First lesson today, guys, don't offer free stuff to strangers on the internet, okay? That should go without saying, but I'm not that bright. You see, this is the first 5 sets of cards I ever sent out. 5 requests in a day, that's no big deal. You wake up early, you go to sleep late, a few here and there, that's not a hassle. But what if you were to wake up and you had like 50 requests? Or like 500? Or one morning it's 15,000? What do you do then? Well, I would have to figure that out. And that is because since September 4th, 2012, the day that my father left, we have distributed over 9.81 million promise cards to over 153 countries around the world, and by request only. 153 countries, this card. You see, it turns out that it doesn't even matter what language you speak. It doesn't matter the color of your skin or how much money you make, who you love, or how old you are. We all understand the importance of a promise. It is something that is core and elemental to human existence. I would learn this lesson not just from my father about the spread of promises in culture and what it really means. I would actually learn most of that lesson from humanity itself, because people started to post pictures of their promise cards. And maybe that's a promise to someone who's close to you, right? Like to a family member. Like this young girl writes, I promise to make life worth living for my sister with Down syndrome every day of her life, and to take care of her when my parents are no longer able to. A promise can be even in recognition of a simple fact. Like this young man in the Czech Republic, he knows, he is certain that somebody somewhere has got to need that half liter of blood more than he does. And so he commits to donating to help the sick or the injured. A promise could even be a random act of kindness. Like this 14-year-old girl in Brunswick, Ohio. She writes, I will sit and make friends with the kids who sit alone at lunch. Because a lot of times she's recognizing that we say all these things, right? And maybe they don't mean much to us, but to that other person, it could be the earth. And in other instances, I don't even have to go into some kind of deep background story. You see the picture, you read the words, and you understand what a promise might mean to a family or to our country. But you see, these cards weren't always used in the first way that I described. Not always an exchange between two people. The cards, they really don't come with instructions, and so sometimes people would use them in creative ways. Like I remember this one woman wrote, I promise not to text or Facebook while driving, right? But instead of giving that card to anybody, she actually just kept it in the console of her car. And every time she got in her car, she would take that card out and she would put it on her phone and twist it as a physical lock screen. A reminder that she cared more about the safety of a stranger than a text that most certainly can wait. You see, this card would be used in ways I could never forecast or fathom. In fact, entire schools, humanitarian organizations, student groups, efforts around the world started to not just make individual promises, but maybe to make the same promise together, to do what only can be done together. And so I could literally stand up here for, I'm not trying to exaggerate, like hours, and tell you 30-second stories, one after the other, and you start to stitch together how important commitment is to the betterment of everyone. But sometimes the stories are not so short. A promise can obviously be very deep. A promise could be one day that be all that we have left. And so I'd like to tell you the story of a man named Garth Callahan. Okay, Garth is 48 years old. He lives just outside of Washington, D.C., near Richmond, Virginia. And he's like a cheesy dad, right? Now, some of you may have cheesy dads or know a cheesy dad. Some of your advisors appear to be cheesy dads, right? But this guy is like level 9,000, okay? He dresses up as like full-blown like Star Wars characters, and then he goes places. You know what I'm saying? Like this is not like Halloween. This is like a Tuesday in Garth's life, right? Like he wants to look just like that. And he embarrasses his daughter along the way, right? Which I think is the primary function of a dad at this point, And that's the most important part of this story. He's got one daughter, one child, that's it. Her name is Emma, pictured here in the 2nd grade, pictured here in the 8th grade. Now, ever since Emma was about in the 2nd grade, she started receiving these little napkin notes in her lunchbox. Do you know what I'm talking about? Right, like little words of encouragement scribbled on a napkin from her dad. Okay, so picture this. You're an 8-year-old girl, okay? Now, I've never been an 8-year-old girl, but some of you have, so just picture it with me, right? You're skipping to the lunchroom, or whatever 8-year-old girls do to get around, And you sit down at the lunch table, you take out the PB&J, the apple slices, the chips, right? And then you read something like this. Remember that guy who quit? Neither does anybody else. like what? I'm like an 8-year-old girl, Dad. What do you want me to do? Persevere through the crust of this sandwich? I'm like a little child. But he would keep writing these things. And maybe it's like an old quote, right? Yesterday's home runs don't win today's games. Babe Ruth. He thought that was good because, she played softball. Or one of my favorites was like when Emma was struggling to kind of believe in herself, He wrote this one that said, Dear Emma, you believed in Santa Claus for all those years. You can believe in yourself for 5 minutes, okay? And so he would write these things, and it's pretty cheesy, but think about this for a second. This guy's life as a parent. It's not too hard to understand, really. I mean, think about it. He's got to go to work. Garth's got to pay the bills, take care of the finances, the home, all this stuff. And then while he's adulting, his daughter, well, she grows up because time waits for no one. And now what? She from the 2nd grade and the 8th grade, she's got like sports. She's got practice. She's got homework. She has friends. You overlap their schedules and you realize that not much overlaps. I mean, like, what kind of quality time does this guy even get in a day with his daughter? Hour? Hour and a half? Okay, an hour and a half to take the most precious thing in his entire existence, his baby girl, try to raise her into a leader. That's not so easy. And so, yes, the note is cheesy, but the guy he's trying, and over the course of all this time, it actually starts to mean something to Emma herself. Now my father never wrote me any sort of napkin notes, and that's quite all right. But unfortunately, there is something else that Emma's father and my father, there's something else they have in common. It's just in his kidney, though. Stage 4 cancer. Garth is sitting in a small white room, a doctor's office, hearing this news for the first time. He doesn't quite understand what it means, stage 4 cancer of the kidney. So he says to the doctor, well, we'll just remove the kidney, right? Or chemotherapy, whatever it is. I got a daughter to take care of, and I don't have to explain that to you, but we'll just move forward. It'll be all right. The doctor looks him in the eye and says, Garth, you are going to die of this. Garth is given an 8% chance of living past 5 years. These two pictures were taken 46 days apart. You see, when someone tells you that the ride is almost over, that your time on this earth, it is coming to a close, you begin to think about this concept of time and how we have spent it, what we are truly committed to. You begin to think about everybody that you love on this planet, and those are the thoughts that would go through Garth's mind. But oddly, in these thoughts, Garth would go and grab a bunch of calendars, and he would start this calculation, and he decided to write a promise card. Garth wrote, I will write 826 napkin notes for Emma. You see, that is one note for every day of class Emma has left until she graduates from high school. So that no matter what happens to him, no matter the day of the last goodbye, even if he cannot be there, that note, it's still gonna be. Because every single one of them has already been written in advance, just in case. Dear Emma, sometimes when I need a miracle, I just look into your eyes and realize that I have already created one. Love, Dad. But please, do not get me wrong about the point of telling this story. This to me isn't the story about some good father. In fact, maybe your dad was never even there for you. This to me, it's not about cancer, although I hope this disease never crosses your path. No, to me, this is about doing what you can with what you got. Because so often, even as we are little kids, we say to ourselves, when I grow up and I graduate, but then we graduate and we say then, but when I get that first good job though, and then we get that good job and then it's all of a sudden when I retire. When what? When are we going to finally do some good with what we have today, right now? When does that day finally come along? That's what Garth Callahan might ask me and you. You see, I will sometimes receive thousands of messages in a single day from absolute strangers around the world about their promises, these stories. They're not so easy to take because, you know, I don't even know if I was born to be the so-called leader of Because I Said I Would. What I'm trying to say to you is you have to know who I was before all this started. Before I ever clicked that button, before it ever went viral, I was just some dude, you know? I was just some guy working at a software company, which is really, really stereotypical for an Asian guy. And yes, I know karate, okay, you know? But that's not the point. The point is that I really liked working at this software company. And I'm going to be cocky for just a second. I apologize. But I was the youngest manager in an enterprise software company of over 1,400 employees. You know, Fortune magazine has a top 100 companies to work for in the United States. We were on that list. I made a 6-figure income, 5-figure bonuses, 5-figure stock options. If you don't know what that all means, you know, you can just buy, you know, hot tubs and convertibles and too much Amazon Prime, you know, that kind of thing. But if you get a bunch of messages from people like that Napkin Notes dad, you stare me right in the face and try to tell me that this life is just about money. It's not. And it's never going to be. Money is only a means to an end, and that end we must choose. So I thought I might quit my job and start a nonprofit, right? Which is a terrible idea. It's very, very difficult, and I would learn that firsthand. But it didn't even make sense in the beginning, like quitting my job, because this is how it all worked in the beginning when it went viral. I was making all this money from the software company, but then I was spending tens of thousands of dollars of my paychecks on stamps and envelopes, you know, trying to get these things out. And so it didn't make any sense to leave my job financially in the beginning, but emotionally one day I'd be pushed over the edge by a letter that would be dropped at my desk at work, which is strange. Now this letter had no name on it but my own. It was anonymous. This letter would push me over the edge to quit my job, and I'd like to read part of it to you right now. It was February of 2013. I'm sitting at my desk at work, and I read, "Hi, Alex. I've been keeping up with your blog. Because I Said I Would has really, really helped me through a rough patch. There have been lots of times where I didn't think life was worth living, and I almost took my life. Almost. I'm getting stronger every day, and a lot of that strength comes from a few promise cards I've written. I have lots of people who care about me. I'm a very, very lucky person. It took a lot for me to realize that I should be alive. I do have a purpose. I'm not sure if I would even be around if it wasn't for you and your organization. So thanks, Mr. Sheen. I know I'm supposed to write this on a card, but I want to promise you that I will not give up. Now, I'm not embarrassed at this moment, nor am I ever going to be, to say that I sat at my desk that day and I cried thinking about what my father might say about a promise like that. I stood up in this office in this sea of people and I wondered, who is it, you know? Is it a friend of mine who just didn't want me to know what they were going through, so they didn't put their name on it? Or is this a complete stranger? I mean, 1,400 people, you can't know them all. More importantly, that letter gave me the courage to do what I knew already had to be done. And that was to leave my life of comfort, to go alone and help people in what little ways I know how. And so I asked for a meeting with my boss, just through email. She didn't know what this meeting was about, but she agreed to it. And I remember walking into her office with this letter in hand. You know, she was sitting there at her desk, you know, pretending to work or whatever bosses are doing all the time, you know, I'm sure you see your teachers do this, you know, they're grading papers on Facebook, you know. Anyways, so she's doing her thing, and I give her this letter. I say, hey, boss, if you could just read this letter, it would make it a lot easier for me to do what I got to do right now. And she says, sure, Alex, no problem. She unfolds this college-ruled piece of notebook paper, and she reads as much as I have literally just read to you right now. But then she stops. She looks up at me, and she says, Alex, this letter is from my daughter. This is about her, she says. This envelope you're holding, that's the kind of envelopes I have on my kitchen counter. When did she give this to you? You see, my boss's daughter had been suffering through depression. And you know, with depression, I believe that time and reaching out for help, I believe that there is hope. That's what I believe. But at age 14, my boss's daughter did not yet share this thought. You see, she was overweight, and she'd go to school, and kids decided that they were going to pick on her for that. And so she come home in these feelings of rejection and sorrow, not knowing what to do with her emotions, she began to cut herself. But you see, this family, they knew about promise cards long before the world. And you know, sometimes with our bad habits, it's not about promising to quit forever. Because maybe forever it is too far to hold. But how about just not today? And then write that again tomorrow? And see if we can get these things to stack up? She would end this habit of self-harm and write this letter. She'd ask an older student to drive her to the place where I worked, where her parents worked. With this letter in hand, she would sneak into our office like some kind of middle school ninja, right? I imagine her in like a ninja outfit for some reason, doing a bunch of cartwheels past security. She finds inter-office mail, which I don't even know where that's at. And she would drop this letter off in my inbox. She'd throw some smoke bombs, backflip out, you know. That letter would get to my desk, and that's part of the reason that I'm standing in front of you now. I'm all in. Because I said I would is something that I'm asking you to be a part of. In your own way, in your own life, we are a social movement, a nonprofit organization dedicated to the betterment of humanity through promises made and kept. That's how I believe this world is made better. When each and every one of us, on our shoulders and on our backs, takes the burden of a promise to improve ourselves, our families, a community, a cause. It is a belief in the power of a single individual and the accountability we should hold ourselves to shape this world into something better. The power of one, accountability. And so as a movement, we have been trying to make and keep promises, to take personal responsibility to help others in need. And our programs have grown since the very early days, but I could tell you some of those stories from the beginning. I could tell you about promises to drive through the night from Cleveland, Ohio to New York City to deliver disaster relief supplies for the victims of Hurricane Sandy. I could tell you stories of promises like, you know, promising 20 tickets to Disneyland for kids who have been diagnosed with cancer, but surprising them with over 100 tickets, you know. This woman looks like I just punched someone in the face or something. I don't know. I could tell you all kinds of stories, but there's one that strikes closer to home for me. I'm not from Georgia. I'm actually from Cleveland, Ohio, where my final story will come from. And when I say Cleveland, Ohio, there's usually just only one person's name Only one person's name people think about anymore when I say Cleveland, and that's LeBron James, right? My boy, right? I love this dude in weird ways, you know? Everybody in Ohio loves LeBron James, and you guys know the story of LeBron. He's like a good basketball player, but did you know this? Did you know that he was so good at basketball that in the 8th grade, Michael Jordan used to come to his games just to see it happen? I mean, phenom, that's the word. So good that he becomes one of the only 17 players ever in the history of the league to be drafted straight into the NBA from a high school court. And I don't know if you know how the NBA draft works, but it's like a lottery system. Like you literally get pulled out of a hat and you go to one team or another. And by some form of chance, he gets chosen to go to where but his own hometown team, the Cleveland Cavaliers, and then he plays incredibly for us for 7 years. Oh, but then he leaves us and he goes to the Miami Heat. So we burn his jersey, right? And then he comes right back and we're like, what jersey, LeBron? That never happened. Let's hug it out, you know? Bring all your friends. And we forgive all because let's face it, I'm from an underdog town. I know everybody's from different cities, but I'm from an underdog town. I'm not from New York City. I'm not from LA. I'm from Cleveland, Ohio, okay? Our river caught on fire once, okay? Like, we're the butt of a joke sometimes. Don't even get me started about the Browns. And so we'll take what we can get when it comes to LeBron and being known for that, because that's what people think of right now when they hear Cleveland, Ohio, LeBron James. But it hasn't always been so positive. You know, even 4 years ago, if I were to say Cleveland, Ohio, just about every person in the country would refer to a very different news story. One that some of you may or may not remember, but for some it will become familiar here in a minute. This story would break loose in Cleveland, Ohio on May 6th of 2013. When a 911 phone call comes into Cleveland Police Department dispatch. Now, if you've ever happened to hear this 911 call, you may agree with me when I say that the dispatcher almost sounds like frustrated, like she doesn't believe what's being said. Because the person who's calling into 911 is a girl named Amanda Berry, a girl who 10 years prior to this phone call had just vanished, thought to be lost forever. But following protocol, this dispatcher, she does her job. She sends police and SWAT team to 2207 Seymour Avenue, Cleveland, Ohio. And what they find in this house is not only is this caller telling the truth about who she is not the only one. 3 Cleveland women named Amanda Berry, Gina DeJesus, and Michelle Knight 10 years prior to this phone call had been kidnapped. They were then forced into a house, and for 10 years they were abused every single day. That house is 6 miles from my house. And I remember the day of their freedom, someone specifically, May 6th. I remember this date because May 6th, it happens to be my birthday. And I remember thinking to myself, what if I had 10 of my birthdays stolen from me? What would my view of this world be? What if you could talk to one of the women on the day of their freedom? And what if they were to say to you, I have lost my faith in humanity? Well, it's not easy to talk to survivors. It's not easy to know what to say. Because to see this world's pain, all we have to do is wake up and open our eyes. But we cannot let this pain overwhelm us. And we most certainly cannot let it become us. For if you have traveled this country and this world as I have, if you meet good teachers and good students, good volunteers and community leaders, you will know that there are good people still left in this world. There are good people still left in the city of Cleveland. And I bet you there's some good people in this room right now. Maybe the type of person who wakes up every day knowing that the odds may be against you, but someone has to wake up and be the offset, the counterbalance to the suffering. Someone has to remain committed to the good, because there are no such thing as superheroes in this life. It's only you and me here to offset the equation for the better. I wanted to make a promise in honor of the 10 years of the perseverance of these 3 women, a promise to raise awareness to the victims of this kind of violence, a promise to raise funds for these women so early on in their recovery. So I promised 10 days. I promised that in 10 days, I would walk 240 miles across the entire state of Ohio, 502,000 steps, all the way to the house of their imprisonment. I asked people to join me on this journey, to show their support for those who have been hurt. But it wasn't about walking, because walking, it is only symbolic. It's about sharing and showing kindness, because after you have been hurt or suffered in this life, maybe you still need to know that there are complete and absolute strangers out there who still care about complete and absolute strangers. And so on June 15th of 2013, I would begin a journey. In Friendship Park, Cincinnati, Ohio, to begin this walk, I would take my right hand and I would put it in the Ohio River, which is disgusting. Let's go ahead and wipe that off. A little Purell. And I'd start walking approximately a marathon a day, every day for 10 days straight. 10 to 12 hours of walking every day in about 90-degree heat. Now this is just a country road in Ohio. It's not like a major highway or anything. And I'm walking down this road, and I'm not going to go into it too much, but let me just say there's some stereotypes about Ohio that are true. Like, what is this? This is like a 20-foot tall cow the size of a house. Okay, people, this isn't like a state fair. This is just somebody's front yard, you know? It's just like some dude trying to establish dominance in the neighborhood or something, you know? I would see that and it'd make me laugh, or maybe I see a sign that made me think, like this one, right? Never let the things you want make you forget the things you have. That's pretty deep. Pretty deep for a guy selling air conditioners. Like, what? This guy's having a full-blown midlife crisis back there or something, you know? Someone give that guy a long hug. And I could show you all kinds of pictures of videos, dogs chasing me, all kinds of nonsense. But you start to notice something consistent in these images. You start to notice that I am the only person walking in them. And that is because for about 95% of the time, I walk by myself. Now, I had asked people to join me, but not many people did. My girlfriend would bring me food so I wouldn't die. That was nice. But I guess the point is that sometimes promises get lonely. You know, even think about a promise that you might want to make to your community or to a cause, right? You would only hope that on that day that your friends, your family members, somebody would show up with you, right? But should that day come along and nobody else shows up, you just can't care that much, because that's not how a promise works. Sometimes in this life, to do what we believe in, we must go alone. 20 miles, that's easy. I could start walking now. But talk to me 180 miles into this walk when it's basically pitch black. There's a little bit of moon and I'm in the middle of nowhere. There's no side of the road, there's no sidewalks. Just so I don't get hit by these cars or trucks, I have to be in this ditch. My feet are blistered over and cut open, and I'm trying to make my way with this little flashlight. And all you want to do in that moment, I swear to you, is sit in the softness of the grass and just quit. Well, how about this? Quitting is part of the human condition. At some point in this life, we have all wanted to quit on a promise that we have made. And should that moment again come for you, as it often comes for me, ask yourself a very important and simple question right before you quit. You ask yourself, why? Why did I make this promise? Why is this so important to me and to those I have made this commitment to? You see, I believe that when you have a strong why, you can be strong. You can put one foot in front of the other, and you could do what you said would be done. I asked myself this question, why? 3 answers. Amanda Berry, Gina DeJesus, and Michelle Knight. And I quite frankly do not care if I'm not that good at fundraising yet, or if the walk is only symbolic.
I promised that I would show up on that day, at that hour, and I wasn't going to be another 10 seconds of disappointment. Not in the last 10 years of what they had to go through. And so yes, promises, they are sometimes lonely. But what I also know is that while it may take some luck and an unfair amount of time, that if you show the world your self-control and your determination, if you show the world that you care, if you work hard enough, well, maybe that's what the world needs to see to believe in what you believe in. Maybe that's unfair, but maybe that's just how the world works. For I would be joined by people from across the city to show their support for those who have been hurt. They would walk with me down West 25th into the heart of Cleveland, Ohio. They would walk with me towards that house of imprisonment. Now this house, it sits on a street called Seymour Avenue. And as we walked in towards that street, that's only about a quarter mile long, we would see the structure. Now this house, it has been destroyed since the day I finished. But on this day, it still stood. I completed this walk, and this woman, she insisted on being the first person to give me a hug. It was Gina de Jesus' mother. She finally had her daughter back after being missing for 10 years. Later on, we'd be sent this picture of Gina herself, the survivor, with her new puppy. You know, I had a friend tell me once, she said, it's okay to believe that you can't do it, but that doesn't mean that you're right. I have done my best to live an example of what people believe the founder of Because I Said I Would should be. And to me, it is a distinct honor to have your time to share with you a little bit about how this card was born, what it means to others, and a little bit about what it means to me, because most of the time I don't get this kind of chance. You know, a lot of times people hear about stuff like this just like on the news, right? You know, people, they see Because I Said I Would maybe in this like 30-second spot on CNN, right? They jam a camera in my face and they say, you got 30 seconds, try to explain it. And what it comes across as is like, oh, this guy Alex Sheen, he makes and keeps promises or something. He wears the same shirt every day for some reason, you know. And people, they just change the channel because they think it's about me. Well, if it was about me, I'd take the over $1 million that I make in a year, just giving speeches, $1 million. And I would go home a wealthy man. But instead, 100% of that money goes to the charity. I make as much as a kindergarten teacher. Because I said I would, it ain't about me. And I will go so far as to say that it isn't even about my own father. And that's not to say that I don't miss him, okay? I'm starting to lose the sound of his voice in my mind. And I miss him in ways that I cannot describe to you. But in everything that I miss about my father, and everything I wish I could say to him, I assure you that this is not about me, this is not about him. It has always been, and it forever will be, about you. Because my dad, Al Sheen, he is gone forever. But you and I, we are still here. And we may not all come from the highest levels of education. We may not all come from the greatest families or the wealthiest of resources, but you know what? Each and every one of you and me, we were born with the ability to make and keep a promise. To take one step at a time in the right direction, to maybe not change the world, but how about the world around us? If you have ever made a promise, but have not yet to keep it, if you've ever had this step that you know you need to take, but you were looking for a sign, well, if you've been looking for a sign, here it is. I ask you to reflect on your lives and the promises that are worth your commitment. And as you do that, remember one last quote from me. It's from a guy named George Bell. It is short and simple, and it has served me more than any other set of words ever has. It goes like this. You can pretend to care, but you can't pretend to show up. Thank you.
Please, be seated. Each and every one of you will receive 10 promise cards. Your teachers, advisors, they have them. I encourage you to share your cards, to encourage others to do the right thing, to follow us on Instagram and Twitter, Facebook. Write a card, make it happen. But if you don't do any of that, you never follow us, that's okay. Just keep your promises, and that's going to be enough for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex, for joining us here at the 90th Georgia FFA State Convention. Your words truly showed us the value of promises and inspired each of us to apply this to our lives. We are so grateful for all that you have done for those across our country and honored to have you here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. As you leave here tonight, there will be a meet and greet with Alex following the session. Items from Because I Said I Would will be available for donation, and 100% of the proceeds will go to the nonprofit organization. Each of your advisors should have a stack of promise cards to be given to your FFA members. As you leave here tonight, I encourage you to remember this message and go live it out. With over 200 different Olympic events, our athletes vary greatly. Weightlifters tend to have stocky body types and are able to put on a lot of muscle mass, while rowers tend to have strong upper and lower bodies. Track and field runners are tall and lean, while pole vaulters are tall, thin, broad-shouldered, and able to put on muscle. Just as each Olympic event and its competitors have their own unique features and talents to fit these sports, our friends here at Convention have their own special talents too. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Mac McKibben and Mr. Derwin Daniels as they jazz us with their unique musical talents. He is a graduate of the University of Georgia and is currently serving as our Secretary of State. Georgia FFA, please welcome our Secretary of State, the Honorable Brian Kemp.
Well, thank you so much. It's an honor to be with you this evening. Great to see such a big, friendly crowd. I'm honored to be here at the 90th Georgia FFA Convention here in Macon, Georgia. I'm from Athens, as was just mentioned, but I do spend a lot of time in this neck of the woods. Our Secretary of State's Professional Licensing Board's division office is literally right across the street. Honored to be here as well with old friends that are here this evening and been here throughout the day. Stan Mitchell, obviously Chip Bridges, saw Commissioner Black outside, and I know Richard Woods was here as well. But there's also been an old friend that was here earlier that had certainly a big impact on my life and my family's life and our state of Georgia's history. And now he's impacting the nation's agricultural policy and the well-being of the international community, and that's our Secretary of Agriculture, Sonny Perdue. I can certainly think of no one more qualified to run our nation's agriculture department than Sonny. How fortunate we are to have a national leader that has such an unwavering commitment to ag education and the crucial role played by FFA. Back in 2001, I decided that the values of my community were not being represented properly by an incumbent under the Gold Dome, and I felt a call to duty myself to be a candidate for an office. It was certainly not an easy decision I made, having a young family, 2 daughters, and 1 on the way. I also had businesses that I was developing that needed attention. However, I had the rock-solid love and support of my wife, Marty, and the good counsel of a state senator from Bon Air named Sonny Perdue, who was actually thinking about running for governor at the time. And in many ways, that seems like a long time ago, but in other ways, I wonder where the time has gone. For my family, agriculture is not something that we read about in the news or see portrayed on television. It's truly a way of life. Whether in the agriculture and farming businesses I'm involved with, or through the many weekends that my family has spent in the barns in many places close to here and around the state, we have learned to be true stewards of Georgia's largest industry, and it's certainly been a life lesson for the Kemp family. While you all here today have the benefit of agricultural training and education, many young people in Georgia do not. As the industry changes and advances, it's important that Georgia's educational approach change with it. I want to thank the work of Senator John Wilkinson of Stevens County for a bill that was passed just last month that will re-examine the way agriculture is taught in Georgia schools. Soon, a group of leaders will develop new key components of the quality basic education formula that will include Ag Ed for kindergarten through 5th grade, not only grades 6 through 12. More importantly, it will include hands-on, in-the-field training. While much can be learned in the classroom, some things must be learned by simply getting your hands dirty, and I know that you all know that, as I do. Governor Deal will be here to sign this bill into law tomorrow, and I cannot think of a better place for him to do that here at the 90th meeting of Young Leaders in FFA. We just had our awards ceremony last week for the Student Ambassadors Program that I know many of you students are participating here. And I'm proud to say that we have now over 1,500 sophomores, juniors, and seniors participating in 150 schools and local organizations around the state. This one-of-a-kind program that we developed 3 years ago now spans across 80 counties to teach young adults about the importance of taking part in the electoral process, and the program will continue to grow as word spreads across the state. We have a dedicated outreach team that's working on this program. So if anyone's interested in getting their school or community group involved, I hope you will let us know. I also would like to let you know that if I can ever be of assistance in the Office of Secretary of State, I hope you will call on us. You can reach us through our website at sos.ga.gov. And even though I've made the decision to leave the Secretary of State's office and run for governor of this great state, I want you all to know here tonight that my commitment to FFA and ag education is as strong as it's been when I was in the legislature in the early 2000s, as my support has been as Secretary of State and will continue to be if I'm fortunate enough to be your next governor. I want to thank you for the opportunity for being here, and I have no doubt that your leadership will provide you with opportunities across this globe and certainly here in our own great state of Georgia, and we are better for you being in it. Thank you so much, and best of luck on the rest of your convention.
Secretary Kemp, thank you for joining us here at the 90th State Convention. We appreciate all you do for us and your service to our state.
Oh, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's been my honor. Thank you.
Every Olympian dreams of making it on the podium one day. They picture themselves standing up there, listening to their nation's anthem and feeling the pride of representing their country to the best of their ability. Earning an Olympic gold medal is the pinnacle of an Olympic experience for an athlete. It is the moment that shows their hard work, energy, and effort paying off. Just as our podium and medal ceremony allows us to recognize our Olympic athletes on their success, our Stars Over Georgia allows us to recognize our FFA members on their success within the FFA and their SAE. Tonight we will recognize the Stars Over Georgia in agri-science, agricultural placement, agribusiness, and the state star farmer. Each finalist was interviewed by 2 panels of judges from various areas of the agriculture industry. The finalists were given 1 hour to impress the judges on their SAE and show all that they have done. These finalists decided, I can follow my passion. And with the help of those around them, they decided we will accomplish our goals and dreams together. These individuals have put in thousands of hours of work, and it is time to award them for their efforts. Each regional star will receive $125 along with their plaque. The state star in each category will receive $250, their plaque, and a $500 scholarship to aid them in travel to the National FFA Convention to represent our state. However, our finalists would not be here tonight if it was not for their FFA advisors and parents. Each advisor here will receive a $100 cash award, and the parent of each finalist will receive their honorary state FFA degree. We will begin our awards presentation tonight with our Stars Over Georgia in Agri-Science.
Carol Ann Worsham of the Gordon Central FFA chapter developed a supervised agricultural experience program centered around 3 agri-science projects. In her first project, she used the scientific method to assess the opinions of consumer preferences on beef choices. She expanded her project and developed a more detailed survey to enhance her process. In her second project, she tested consumer preferences for sausage choices, one being whole hog versus the consumer staple of the Jimmy Dean brand. Finally, as an advanced project, she built a solar panel to determine if it would heat a small aquarium. The project was developed to solve a problem of keeping her livestock warm in the winter. She wanted to find a cost-effective way to heat the small barn. She designed a solar panel using old soda cans and other recycled materials. The heater turned out to be a successful project. She plans to implement the project's success into her small barn to conserve energy and control costs such as heat for her livestock. As an active member of the Gordon Central FFA, Carol Ann has served as a chapter officer and was a national winner in the FFA Agri-Science Fair. Carol Ann's FFA advisor is Trish Williams. Congratulations to Carol Ann Worsham, the North Region Star in Agri-Science. Tamara English of the Dutchtown FFA chapter learned in her agri-science classes that foodborne bacteria can multiply rapidly, mutate, and develop a resistance to antibiotics very easily. By introducing bacteriophages, she is working to control foodborne pathogens. A bacteriophage is a virus that is introduced into the bacteria to change its DNA. In the food industry, Tamara sees how the bacteriophage can be used as an introduction to processed food. The introduction would start a process that might kill the bacteria pathogen. Tamara began her supervised agricultural experience when she became aware of a national restaurant chain that had an outbreak of foodborne illnesses. The agri-science experiment involved using a non-pathogenic strain of E. coli, somewhat similar to the pathogens that affected the restaurant chain. The project gave her a much deeper understanding of food science and how it can be used to address real-world food safety issues. She gained both application and critical thinking skills to understand the results and draw conclusions on the experiment. She determined a specific amount of the bacteriophage to introduce to create an effect on the problem host. Tamara is an active member of the Dutchtown FFA chapter and currently serves as president. She is a National FFA Agri-Science Fair winner and volunteers her time at school. Her FFA advisor is Dr. Teresa Sakini. Congratulations to Tamara English, the Central Region star in agri-science. Levi Herring knows that soil is the foundation for all types of plants, but in order for plants to thrive, the soil must be of good quality. Living on a farm that has a high percentage of sandy soil gave the Lowndes County FFA member the opportunity to see if increasing the microbial activity in the soil would show an increase in soil quality. Levi learned that sandy soil has much lower organic matter, so he devised an experiment to evaluate the effect of increased soil nitrogen and organic matter. From there, he determined the effect of microbial activity on plant development, estimated the financial impact of increased soil microbial activity, and conducted a statistical analysis of the data. Levi used soil from different locations, filled pots with the soil, and inserted nitrogen-soaked underwear into the pots. The pots were planted for 6 weeks. Then measurements were taken to determine if microbe activity would be greater in the presence of the nitrogen-amended soil. His hypothesis was proven true. Levi is an active member of the Lowndes FFA and has served as a chapter officer. He has also been named a national winner in the FFA Agri-Science Fair. His FFA advisors are Dr. James Corbett and Quentin Hadsock. Congratulations to Levi Herring, the South Region star in agri-science.
It takes a lot for Olympians to get to where they are, including years of intense training, different forms of dieting, and perseverance to attain the level of health and fitness they need to be able to perform. Nutritionists play a vital role in this as they use science, knowledge, and experience to construct a plan best suited for their athletes. While gymnasts may consume 1,000 to 2,000 calories a day, swimmers may consume 6,000 to 10,000 calories a day. Similarly to Olympic nutritionists, the following individuals have used science and knowledge in their SAEs. These finalists saw a problem in their community and through hundreds of hours of time and research, formulated a method to solve this problem. We will now award the Star in Agri-Science to the member who has exemplified this in their SAE. The Star in Agri-Science Award is sponsored by the Georgia Peanut Commission and the Peanut Institute. Joining us tonight on behalf of the Georgia Peanut Commission is Mr. Donald Chase. And the finalists are, from the North Region, Carol Ann Worsham of the Gordon Central FFA Chapter. From the Central Region, Tamara English of the Dutchtown FFA Chapter. And from the South Region, Levi Herring of the Lowndes County FFA Chapter. And the 2018 State Star in Agri-Science is Levi Herring of the Lowndes County FFA Chapter. Congratulations to our 2018 State Star in Agri-Science. We will now present the awards for the Star over Georgia in Agricultural Placement.
Surrounded by dairy cattle ever since he was born, Mark Smith of the Madison County FFA has a passion for the dairy industry. With 3 family farms located in Madison, Elbert, and Wilkes counties, Mark splits his time between the operation in different capacities. Milking around 1,000 cattle daily, the farm encompasses more than 3,500 acres. His responsibilities on the farm include field preparation, herbicide and fertilizer application, planting, scouting for weeds and insect pests, and harvesting corn silage and sorghum. He is currently in charge of planting corn silage on 900 acres and sorghum on 400 acres. With the cattle, Mark works on mixing feed rations, feeding cattle, and equipment maintenance and repair. When time allows, Mark also works on moving cattle between farms. Over the years, Mark has seen his responsibilities grow. He enjoys being able to assist with any farm task and is trusted with important jobs as he prepares to take over operating a successful dairy. Mark is an active member of the Madison County FFA and has participated in several career development events. His FFA advisors are Kaylee Hall, Catherine Bell, Cindy Jones, and Josh Daniel. Congratulations to Mark Smith, the North Region Star in Ag Placement. With more than a century of history in his family's farm, Wilson Boyd has developed an agricultural placement supervised agricultural experience working in cotton, peanuts, soybeans, corn, and small grains. The Screven County FFA member began at a young age learning about farming practices. Over the years, he quickly found the challenges of producing exceptional crop yields on marginal land. He has been able to help with most aspects of the grain, fiber, and oil production. It began with tasks such as greasing equipment and handling seed, and has progressed to being able to plant and operate the biggest and most technologically advanced equipment with accuracy. Wilson is a valuable employee on the Boyd farm. He has developed expertise in planting and tillage. He uses his skills coupled with GPS guidance to assist in the operation of tractors, balers, and other equipment. The equipment follows the same line with sub-inch accuracy so that seed and chemicals are always placed in the right location. Irrigation is also a full-time job during the planting season. With nearly 30 center pivots, Wilson has learned to operate the technology. Wilson is an active member of the Screven County FFA chapter and is a proficiency finalist this year. His FFA advisors are Nancy Sell, Brandon White, and Callie Smith. Congratulations to Wilson Boyd, the Central Region Star in Agricultural Placement. Over the past 7 years, Libba Johnson of the Colquitt County FFA has developed her small animal supervised agricultural experience by working in a veterinary clinic. Since beginning her SAE, Libba has been entrusted with more difficult tasks such as administering vaccines, assisting with appointments, assisting in surgery, and even training new employees. She completes all tasks of a veterinary assistant, such as distributing daily medications, administering daily vaccines, assisting with annual exams, drawing blood, and maintaining equipment. Along with working at the veterinary clinic, Libba also works at her family's kennel, where they breed and raise English bulldogs and Persian cats. She started out cleaning, feeding, and walking the dogs, and has since progressed with additional tasks with wellness checks and assist with the breeding of bulldogs as they cannot breed naturally. Libba hopes that the valuable experience gained in the clinic and kennel will push her to obtain a veterinary degree and eventually come back to the clinic to grow the business. Libba is an active member of the Colquitt County FFA chapter and serves as chapter president. Her FFA advisors are Adrian Smith, Stacy Beecham, Jesse Boland, and Jean Hart. Congratulations to Libba Johnson, the South Region Star in Agricultural Placement.
When you begin to think about the number of people putting on the Olympics, it can be quite overwhelming. In the 2016 Rio Summer Olympics, 85,000 people were employed just for security purposes. 16,000 people were employed throughout hotels, and 90,000 new jobs were created throughout the city just for the games. This next group of individuals knows all about the intricacies of the working world. Whether it be working on their family operation, in an agricultural-related company, or another business, they have shown us the value of hard work and dedication through their SAE. Our sponsor for our Star in Agricultural Placement is CSX Transportation. And the finalists are, from the North Region, Mark Smith of the Madison County FFA Chapter. From the Central Region, Wilson Boyd of the Screven County FFA Chapter. And from the South Region, Libba Johnson of the Colquitt County FFA Chapter. And the 2018 State Star in Agricultural Placement is Libba Johnson of the Colquitt County FFA Chapter. Congratulations to our 2018 Star in Agricultural Placement. Now we will begin our presentation for the Stars over Georgia in Agribusiness.
Livestock production is an essential asset to the agricultural industry, and Tyler Ertzberger of the Franklin County FFA knows that firsthand. From exhibiting livestock for 8 years, Tyler has seen the ins and outs of the industry, which led him to develop a supervised agricultural experience of creating promotional materials, marketing plans, and high-quality livestock photographs that are keys to successful livestock sales. Tyler works to prepare promotional materials that highlight the strengths of various species of livestock. He also contracts with numerous livestock shows throughout Georgia and the Southeast where he takes photographs. The design aspect of his business comes into play as he markets and assists in sales. The designed brochures and flyers work to create an early interest in livestock sales as viewers gain an interest in receiving online information and viewing sales photos. He also utilizes social media to publicize sales and sales books. He has become proficient in computer programs such as Photoshop and InDesign, which allow him to customize each sale book to the desired specifications. Tyler is an active member of the Franklin County FFA and has participated in several career development events. His FFA advisors are Cale Watkins, Anna Watkins, Waylon Priester, and Trey Harris. Congratulations to Tyler Ertzberger, the North Region Star in Agribusiness. After hearing stories from his dad's childhood about beekeeping, Lane Altman, a Jones County FFA member, decided to give the venture a start. Starting with only one hive, Lane has since grown the operation to 6 hives, with plans to grow to 10. In the beginning, Lane learned to use the tools of the trade and to look for signs of a successful hive. He learned to look for other insects, such as ants or mites, that might invade the hive and decrease honey production. During the winter months, he developed a technique to produce sugar water to assist the hive with an extra boost of energy. He has also assisted in extracting honey from the hive and packaging honey into bottles. He sells the honey locally to people from his church and school. Lane has learned about the characteristics of the queens, drone, and female worker bees. Lane is an active member of the Jones County FFA and has participated in several career development events. He is also a scholar athlete for football and tennis. His FFA advisors are Joe Thornton, Callie Langford, and Mark Smith. Congratulations to Lane Altman, the Central Region Star in Agribusiness. Different seasons demand a different business model for Owen Polk of the Irwin County FFA. He knows that diversification is the key for his success. To maintain a consistent cash flow, Owen developed a supervised agricultural experience that would complement the less busy times of each business venture. His initial SAE included a lawn care business. He started by maintaining just one lawn and has expanded to 11 residential and 2 commercial accounts. The complete lawn care business includes mowing, trimming, blowing, edging, and the occasional chemical application. Owen's second enterprise consists of providing fresh vegetables to his clients. By taking orders for fresh vegetables and purchasing a collective order from regional producers, Owen is able to provide a needed product and service to his client base. He also offers additional processing of the vegetable to his customers for an additional charge. Owen's final part of the trio of business involves processing and mounting deer skulls for hunters. Cleaning, painting, restoring, and mounting the skulls in a European style is something that other businesses in his area do not offer. Owen is an active Irwin County FFA member, having served as a chapter officer and participated in activities such as land evaluation and poultry evaluation. His FFA advisors are Shayla Johnson, Chris Polk, and Wesley Polk. Congratulations to Owen Polk, the South Region Star in Agribusiness.
Every year, the Olympics come to a new city, and the impact it has is tremendous. Businesses boom and industries thrive as people flock from all over the globe to be a part of these games. These next individuals are no strangers to the business world. These finalists have started their own businesses that continue to boom today. The sponsor of the State Star in Agribusiness is the Georgia Agribusiness Council. Joining us tonight on behalf of the Georgia Agribusiness Council is Mr. Brian Toller. And the finalists are, from the North Region, Tyler Ertzberger of the Franklin County FFA Chapter. From the Central Region, Lane Altman of the Jones County FFA Chapter. And from the South Region, Owen Polk of the Irwin County FFA Chapter. And the 2018 State Star in Agribusiness is Owen Polk of the Irwin County FFA Chapter. Congratulations to our 2018 State Star in Agribusiness. Now last but certainly not least, please welcome to the stage our 2018 Star Farmer finalist.
In 2012, Robbie Arnold enrolled in middle school agricultural education coursework and started his beef cattle production supervised agricultural experience. He started with a gift of 5 bred commercial heifers and 1 registered Simmental heifer. Robbie devised a labor exchange with his grandfather, bartering use of pastures for grazing. He also received hay, use of a barn with working facilities, and tractor usage. Robbie has worked diligently, selecting sires and dams with the desired marketing traits and implementing a herd health program. His herd has grown from 5 to 20 head of cattle, and his net income